Okay, um, I have begun the recording. Here we begin the post Clan Battle Season 9 all hands meeting. Um, First, I want to start off by giving thanks to all of you for putting up with a very unusual, difficult, draining season. Big shift to the meta this season. I think it caught a lot of people. It made for many people, I think it made the game a little bit less enjoyable than it has been in the past. And to in spite of that, when a lot of other clans either quit early or didn't push forward or gave up, the fact that we were pushing ratings, playing, getting steel, getting tokens, all the way until the very last day really speaks to this group's fortitude. And before we ever got into hurricane or typhoon or any of that, the one thing we've had going for us is fortitude. And I believe that if we were able to maintain that, that everything else would come that we needed. So there's really no substitute for determination. You know, many of you recruited with the early system of ranking out. Many of you were brought in here because you ranked out, and it took like 400 to 500 games. And that's the stuff that has made us persevere when some of the other clans that were neck and neck with us when we started, or that were ahead of us, are now either behind us or just don't exist anymore. So I specifically want to thank my executive officers who almost make me irrelevant. I don't almost feel like I don't necessarily even need to be here because they do such a good job running the show. I want to thank my crew captains who deserve a tremendous amount of credit for logging in maybe when you didn't feel like playing, when you had maybe other parties, but you knew that there were people counting on you to help them get their games going, to push that rating, to drive that competitive spirit that I think that no other clan has quite the same way we do. The quartermasters who've helped us maintain all of our extra programming. That's really helpful. It adds a lot to the culture of the clan. Things like the high score competition. I think that's, again, one of those things that only we have, and it helps set us apart and helps build that core spirit that's really critical to us. And to all of the players, all the folks who put up with moving from branch to branch. Some of you were probably moved, I don't know, 3 or 4 times this season. That's on me, but I think I could be mistaken, but I don't think we lost a single player this season who threw their hands up and said, I'm not moving. It was seamless. And because everyone sort of knows how this works, knows how we operate, and they're down for the program. And because of that, and because of all that everyone here does, I think that it's important to remember that we all share ownership of the accomplishments of this season. And it may be in a small or tangential way, but everybody contributed in some way to building the atmosphere that allowed us to succeed this season the way that we've never succeeded before, and the way that no other clan, maybe save one, can really claim. Only one other clan can claim to have 2 independently earned ratings in Hurricane. And then, the third rating right there in the middle of Typhoon 1. So, you may not be our greatest player, you may not be in a frontline lineup, you may not make the COTS team, but you help get games going where people learn and can develop and then move up and realize their ability. You're there to div when people need to grind a line. You're there to help callers get experience by giving them a team they can work with. So everyone should have a sense of pride and ownership of the accomplishments, regardless of where you ended up this season, whether in TNG 3 or TNG S. This is something unlike other clans where there are strict divisions between those sub-clans, no one works like we do, and because of that, there's no other clan where I think everybody can share in that, share in the victory. So with that, I want to move on to a couple things. We always have to be getting better, so there are going to be some changes coming in the future. One is that as we become more and more competitive, we've become less and less a place that emphasizes players that are here casually. So next season, if you're going to be here less than 50% of the time or less than 60% of the time, and a captain in one of the competitive branches does not, a captain can say, oh, you're here 25% of the time, but when you're here, your aces, we're always glad you're here. Well, they can have you in your crew, but if you don't get pulled by one of the captains into that, you're very likely going to play casually, have fun in TNG S. So if not the beginning of the season, probably by the midpoint, anybody who is like maybe taking a break or just decides this game is not something they want to, spend more than at least half the time in clan battle nights here for, we just have to make that shift to be able to continue to drive the ratings forward and improve. Um, One of the other changes I'm going to make is to encourage people to crews and crew captains to start live recording. Somebody in your crew should be able to have OBS and just hit the record button and then upload that somewhere. Not just for your own benefit, but because if you're a particularly successful crew, there are other people in the clan that other callers, other crews that want to see what you're doing so well, so we can learn from it. And there's really no substitute from a live recording that has the battle chat and that stuff going on. So I'm going to be leaning on captains, not themselves to do it, but to find somebody that can document that and then get it up onto YouTube. And actually, if I could certainly help. We can find another solution for that that might be a little bit more secure than unlisted YouTube channels. But that is something that I think helped. Speaking from my own crew, it was always helpful afterwards to sit down with Cowboy or somebody else afterwards and just say, okay, we'll play from right here, or to watch it myself, or for the people who were in my crew who could play that night to come and see what we had done. The other thing this is not going to be mandatory, but I'm going to start leaning on captains to try is to document your losses. Get a Google spreadsheet up, much like the ones we use to track the season's night-to-night points. So those who don't know, every night all the captains have to log their number of games they played, the number of wins, and their net gain or losses in points. I'm going to encourage them to also have their own sheets where they're documenting, okay, we lost this battle, and this is why. So that in the process of that, it puts a very, very clear picture on what caused the loss, or their idea of what the loss is. Maybe they'll edit it later, but also being able to look back and see what contributed to losses. Just some kind of system of internal accountability is, again, not mandatory, but something I'm going to strongly encourage for captains. Upcoming news is we're basically going to take this week off. Nothing serious, no clan activity other than this. The following weekend, June 20th, we're going to be we've got the Brawl. We've got to defend our global title, and I look forward to doing that. It's 3 versus 3, tier 10s, destroyer, cruiser, battleship, no CV. I'm going to encourage you guys to start to build your teams or your divisions with that within your crew, just to continue that crew coherency, to keep it building and maintain it in the off season. It's obviously not mandatory. If you can't get matched, we'll find a partner, but to start looking first within your crew. We'll probably do 2 inter-clan scrims next week, at least one of them in the Brawl format. And I understand some people are struggling with burnout. These are not mandatory things, but if you happen to be playing, I think doing an inter-clan fun is a little bit more than running through randoms or whatever other thing might be going on. So with that, I will. I guess one other note before I throw it to the captains is that I've read through the submissions to the survey. If you've not done that survey, please do it. It's linked in officer announcements. That's what we need to get better. One of the complaints that was in there that I want to address is that things in TNG3, TNGS, a little bit messy at times, a little bit confusing, because in some ways those are the areas where we're trying to develop people to eventually, to move into TNG2 as a crew or TNG branch. I'm going to make it one of my personal priorities to make things a lot smoother in TNG3 next season, to stand up crews that are going to, I guess, be a little bit more viable and not just ignore it and just say, at the end of the season we just want to get it into Typhoon. I mean, next season's goal, we met the season's goals. 1 into Hurricane, high rating, got it. Second, 2 into a Hurricane, done. Third, Typhoon 1. That was the goal all along. But next season, the goal has got to be all 3 into Hurricane, and that require trying to solve the problems that are in 3. Because I know there are a lot of folks who've been bouncing around in 3 for the last few seasons, maybe bouncing between different crews. The idea is that by 1 or 2 seasons, 2 seasons, maybe 2.5, you're in a crew, you stay with them, you move to TNG2. That's the plan, and that's something that I've got to give more attention to. And anybody with ideas on how to help that, to execute that, I'm all ears. I think I've spoken enough. I'm going to hand it over to the captains. Let's start with Saints and Cowboy. Are there any thoughts you want to share at the close of the season with the clan as a whole?
Nothing really that applies to everybody. I think everybody understands how The division I play in, often referred to as the no fun division because we're very serious about it. We picked up, I think, 5 new people this time who had never played a clan battle with me or had played very few with me, and all 5 of them outstanding. They all put in the extra work, the replay analysis, strategy talks, understanding the philosophies and the reasoning behind the strategies, sitting out and watching, right, while the rest of the team played, and then ready to go when they come in, right? No, basically, when we bring somebody in, we don't even have to tell them anything extra. They've already watched everything, they've already absorbed all the strategy, and it all worked flawlessly. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Is that everybody did outstanding. Um,
Good, good. And as when the next season's announced, nothing's set in stone. I'm not asking any captains to make commitments for next season or anything like that. But when the next season is announced, whatever our premier, the top priority crew is, and top priority means they can have, with some limits, almost anybody they want. Um, so I know that Cowboy did a very good job at the beginning of the season auditioning people. I was actually quite proud, if I'm allowed to have a little tiny personal pride in the fact that I see so many former X-Force members in his lineup. But reach out to him if he's running the crew next season, and if that's what you're interested, give it a shot. Um, with that, I will now hand it over to Danny, Assassins. Anything you want to share after this, as the season's wrapped up?
Yeah, we're obviously very happy to be the first tag or the first team in TNG2 to get in there, and I hope that continues. Even though we're playing in TNG main next season, I hope whoever comes in TNG2 can continue that. And secondly, we're probably a little bit different, probably quite the opposite of Cowboys team. We would like to probably play with a simple strategy that is very flexible, so it can accommodate 12 to 15 players that we had rotating through this season, which I thought was a huge number of players, and everybody did well. And oh, there was another thing I wanted to say.
We can come back to you if you remember it later.
Yeah,
You
we
can
can
take
probably
a
come back.
moment to.
Oh, and just yeah, and just going back to I think what you said before, we played together for I think 6 to 8 months, and I think that's very important when you're trying to achieve something. I know Cowboy does it a little bit different in his team because he's been in Hurricane what 6 or 7 times now, but especially in TNG2 and TNG3, if you try to find yourself a team deep, well, a group of players you get along with, and communicate with them. Like we always take feedback in our team. We always had feedback. If a player's not happy with the ship or with the position, we always try to understand why. If it's either the player or if it's the position or if it's the ship. So we always talk together as a team and we organize a strat as a team. So when it does come a time, and we did that a couple of times this season, we were short players in our div, and we just brought in 2 players from another div, and they just slotted in straight away because the way the strategy was designed. So in a nutshell, I'm probably just trying to say that there's enough flexibility in 6 or 7 teams that we have that you can find something that suits you to make you a better player and obviously make your team a better team in the end.
True, true. And if
That's about it.
as yeah, as in the off season, I think Danny actually is already committed to leading that crew next season, and to reach out to him. But I think just like Aaron, yes, did this season. Danny's a crew that started in TNG3, did really well. Moved into TNG2 this season, did really well. Next season they're in TNG, and I really want to see our name on a map. And probably the only way that is happening is by us building crews where we have multiple crews that can play through pretty much the end of the season, to keep vacuuming up those points, because getting up there is going to probably take north of 200 or 300 points, which is roughly in Hurricane, which is about 150 points more than we've gotten this time. And so that's what we're building for. I mean, the dream is to have multiple crews running to the end of the season, not just one that warms up the rating and gets it up to like Typhoon 1 or something, or to the right up to the door of Hurricane, but can just blast on through right alongside the other. Um, so with that, we will go to Righteous. Aaron, yes, talk to us.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I gotta admit, I was quite disappointed that we didn't get to play any Hurricane games this season. Gotta say that. And I mean, it was literally a matter of 1 minute. If we won that struggle game like a minute later, we would have got the Hurricane game, and the Saints would have gotten the star. So we would have got our Hurricane game, but nope, didn't happen. I think we had a couple issues this season with consistency. Like when I was away for 2 weeks, we dropped in consistency, and I mean that's something you need to work on. And I think it was mostly due to the strain of the season. We last season we did a lot of stuff that was unconventional, like ambush tactics, surprise tactics, very unusual stuff that we just planned for, and the enemy just couldn't plan for. And with all the carrier spotting going on and the super long range Venezia starting grad meta, that just didn't work. So I would say for our crew, the season was not super enjoyable. So I guess the strain actually, took its toll on some people, especially when we literally beat 007, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, and on the other hand lost to like some storm clans occasionally. So, and 007, by the way, is number 1, 2, or 3 now, something like that.
They're currently 3, but they're up there. Yeah,
So
no small feat.
we were a couple shots, like one RNG die throw away from beating 07 twice. And then on the other hand, we lose to some storm clans. So that's the thing we need to work on. And I think it's a lot due to the, as I said, the strain of the season. Because I can speak for myself, and I think I can speak for half my team, if not more, that we just didn't enjoy this meta.
Yeah.
We had to adapt, but if it's next season's identical to this, I don't think I'm gonna stand through the entire season again. And you said resilience and all that, but if it's not fun, if it's not for the play, where's the point? So they gotta resync that entire meta. Everyone saw the statistics was like 1/3 Venezia, 1/3 starting grad, or more even. That's not diversity. That's not entertaining.
Well, I mean, you'll take comfort in knowing that I don't know if you heard the podcast we did today, but the winners of basically the 3 servers all gave a strong thumbs down to the way the meta was in terms of reducing the fun factor. So hopefully that will be. I know that Wargaming listens to the podcast and they do listen to the survey. So everyone here's gonna get the postseason survey. Share your thoughts.
Not all bad. We got into struggle Hurricane like 3 times. We twice won 2 out of 5, and the other time we helped the Saints go up there. So there was a very good season. Just the consistency is lacking and the fun.
Yeah, I hear you. And but you do have a lot to be proud of this season, apart from negating a significant number of points in TNG, which is important because that the last day of play in TNG, they moved up 2 spots, right? And I'm not sure they would have been in quite a position to do that without some of the net point gains from your crew. But also, you helped drive alongside X-Force TNG 3 into Typhoon 1, well into it. So that is a pretty good accomplishment. I think that pretty much all your guys got their tokens and their steel. So I mean, you've got a lot to be proud of this season, even though it might be a little bit bittersweet, not quite getting to taste that Hurricane win. So with that, I guess I'll just speak for X-Force very briefly. I think we're getting to be a mature group. When we are on, we're very tough to beat. We can run with some of the best. When we're off, well, anything can happen. And a lot of it's on me as the caller, and I've got to do. We spoke earlier. I've got to do a better job getting our a co-caller up and trying to get more battles in. But we have a lot to be proud of. We contributed a mighty number of points to TNG2, which ultimately contributed to them being able to reach up and touch Hurricane. And we also we helped TNG3 meet their objective of getting into Typhoon 1 right alongside Arenya. So we have a lot to be proud of. Now with that, I will hand it over to Tech and Draken. Do you have any end of season thoughts to share with us, Tech?
No, I think that everyone's kind of covered it. I think that the meta has definitely dampened, the entertainment value. We've talked about it numerous times where it's, hero stacking or ship stacking has kind of dwarfed a lot of the entertainment of playing like some boats. I know a lot of people that have played Stalin and like playing Stalin don't find it really fun just to be a punching bag for 10 minutes and then to get killed, and to have contributed what feels like very little, if not nothing at all. That can be very frustrating. So I hope that Wargaming does take it seriously, and I think that their level of commitment to taking the feedback seriously is going to kind of dictate whether or not the game keeps going forward, and if it really does have a competitive scene to it. So I look forward. I think that we have a really good group of guys, and I think that anything's possible, right? I think that if we keep working at it and we keep building up each other, that it's possible to get all three branches into Hurricane. I think that really it kind of more so depends on attitude and teamwork and camaraderie and morale, and I think maybe them changing up a couple of things would definitely help that as well.
Okay, well said, well said. And with that, I will go to Saber Shark of Mutants. Talk to me, Saber. Tell us your thoughts on the season and how we can do better and what you think we did right.
Well, I want to first express my appreciation for all of the mutants that came and showed up and played. We had some good nights. We got into Typhoon for a very short time, and then we dropped back down. It was a long season for me. I think they could benefit from a little better caller, but everybody stuck with it and communicated well and worked together as a team. And I think it's setting us up to where we can go forward during the next season, and look forward to it.
Well said. And you were a tireless workhorse there, and you've put up with a lot of moving around to different groups, and you were running the sort of the somewhat casual folks who, for work reasons, they're military or who knows reasons, just are not the folks that are going to be here the 60 to 75 to 100% of the time it takes to build like super competitive coherency. So having a different group of guys show up every night and trying to make sense of it all, I don't know, I don't envy that task, and I'm glad you stepped into it, Saber. I think you've got a lot to be proud of. With that, I do want to make the case here for folks that are thinking about being captains. In the next survey it comes out, I don't think nobody who has ever asked to be a captain and has never been a captain before has been denied that opportunity. We're probably going to be getting a new crowd of people coming in, as we do between every clan battle season, because we're about to start doing our big recruitment push. Thanks to all of your accomplishments of having 2 Hurricane, 1 Typhoon, 1 clan, we are a place that people who are considering a different place to go are going to be looking at, because what we do works. This is the 2nd season of running the cruise system based on the survey responses. It's overwhelming success, although still with weaknesses that need to be addressed. The real problem with the crew system is if you're in a marginal crew or a crew in TNG 3 or something, and it doesn't have the consistency yet, you just haven't caught that wave like so many did with Aaron Yes and Assassins that pulls you into TNG 2 and TNG 3. We're just trying to make more of those waves for you to catch that one and ride it in to get to right where you want to be. In theory, as we're built now, we have the capacity for 9 crews. We ran 6, almost 7 this season. So, if you want to be a crew captain, let me know sooner rather than later so that we can start giving you captain caller opportunities in the intra-clans between the next clan battle now and when the next clan battle season starts. I think with that, I've covered everything I wanted to cover. So now, for the good of the order, if you want to claim the chance to speak, just type a letter in officer discussion. I'll give you the floor rather than trying to talk over each other. So just give me pay your specs with an F in officer discussion or some kind of symbol to let me know you want to have the floor. And the floor is open. After this, I'll be talking to the captains downstairs. Such a quiet group. Okay, Sense, go ahead.
Thanks. I appreciate the captains and playing with mutants, but this season was the least fun I've had playing any competitive game in ages. It was largely because of the game itself. Is there a place in TNG for people who never want to play competitive games?
Well, for those of us who have played competitively and earned that stripe, they have permanent and unfettered retirement home in TNGS. That is what it is there for.
Okay,
And
thank you.
yeah, so anybody who's had a, or maybe somebody's been deployed, or they just, for whatever reason, if you play clan battles with us and you want to move to S, and by the way, for those who are not aware, TNGS is strictly reserved for them. Plus, occasionally pull in oil slaves, but those guys get cut without warning. Whatever, doesn't really count. Um, you can still participate in high scores. You can still participate in brawl when you want to. You have access to the officer area and all that stuff, and obviously want to keep you around. If you're playing the game purely in casual mode, just hang out in S. You're still part of the family. So,
Thank you, sir.
you're very welcome. Is Major Ken? Do you want to claim the floor? Saw you typing.
I could say something as well.
Go ahead, Danny.
Yes, unfortunately, it wasn't really fun, and I'm personally, a lot of you probably know, I hate CVs, but we have to embrace it because the way wargaming looks at these things, they're not going to look at it with a clear cut set of eyes. They're going to see, oh look, all the top teams, they've used the CV, so the CV was popular, was a success. Obviously, we have to nerf Venezia because that's very strong. So what you'll most likely see happen is CVs will be on again next season, and Venezia's will get a shit nerf. So you just have to adapt to that. I mean, you just got to think of it like this: if we're all suffering, right, and we all dislike it, the other players on the enemy team are going through the same thing. So it's just a matter of who can actually persevere, like Simpak said at the start, and go through the shit. And with enough patience and perseverance, you can actually come through on the other side and be on top of those clans. I mean, if clans quit because of the CV and so forth, doesn't it make our job easier?
Well said, Danny. And
I mean, you can rotate people through. You can have nights off. That's what we've done quite well. That's why we had up to 15 people in there. Some nights people have shit nights. And instead of, going on and on about it, we've obviously had a few arguments now and then, but it never carried on after one game. It always stopped and we just moved on. And one of the secrets, which I should have mentioned before, why we did so well, is because we had so many players to rotate through. So, if you had one night with 3 players that were really off their game for personal reasons or RNG or whatever, we had 3 players that could step in. They were reasonably fresh, so to speak. So that's how I see the way to do it, because CVs are around to stay. They've said it many times. Even if they become unpopular, they're just going to buff them again to make them popular. They're not going to go away. And they will be here to stay. In all competitive formats, I think, which is unfortunate, but that's the case.
Well said, Danny. I'm good thoughts to take on board. And also, I mean, I think we've found out with reasonable certainty the next season will be 8 versus 8, which is good for us because it's good for us for a lot of reasons. But the 8 versus 8 will be 1 battleship and 1 CV, or up to 1 battleship and up to 1. I mean, you can still bring, I don't know, 8 shimikazes, but that will probably shake the meta up in hopefully a way that some people who have concerns about CV will have may reconsider, and they may also, there's also a possibility of changing the spotting mechanic with CVs. So, there's some people who are on the spectrum of not minding the CVs all the way to really just wanting to quit the game over it. So, it's in Wargaming's hands now. So I want to, Major Ken, you have the floor.
No, I don't have anything. I'm just giving a shout out to Saber for taking care of us.
Absolutely, yeah. It was he had probably one of the greatest challenges of the captains is to have to go deal with that every night, and man, it was brutal. And he I'm very impressed with what he was able to do to keep things running. Gio, are you just memeing on us, or do you have something to say?
Yeah, I'll play with Saber like 3 seasons in TNG3, and I think his patience and his resilience is phenomenal. And for him to get a team into Typhoon, I mean, I've only watched a couple of their games. My hat's off to him. He's done so much work over the years in TNG. I can't think of anyone else that's put more effort in TNG3 than he has, whether as a player or now as a captain. So, congratulations.
Yep, second that. Rogue Ice Dragon, you have the floor.
Yeah, I also wanted to say thanks to Saber. Like even though this was a pretty rough clan battle season with the carriers and stuff like that, I enjoyed it still. I felt like and this was my first time shot calling too, like being helping with shot calling stuff, and I thought I did okay, but I definitely need some work to do. I also wanted to say sorry for not being able to get on for the last 2 weeks of clan battles because of finals got really crazy and all the online classes are, they just with the whole pandemic stuff, it made it very hard. But overall, I think the Mutants group did very well, and there's definitely still a lot to learn. But specifically with this season with the carriers and stuff like that, I think they did very well.
Well said. Well said. And I appreciate you stepping up even when you were available. I think you did a really good job as a caller.
Yes, you did.
Feedback has been fairly positive about your experience, and hopefully we can get you back in the captain's chair on a future season. Arch Zero, are you calling the floor?
He's just showing us he's got a good win rate in Lightning.
Okay. All right. So, folks, this is your chance to claim the floor. Just give me a type in the officer's discussion, and it's your chance to trash talk, to tell us how awful this is, or just speak your mind. Ashkance, you have the floor.
Wanted to say, well, thank you to Cowboy and Saints. I obviously have a bit of a skewed perspective because if there was no CV and clan battle, I would not be allowed on a team that did that well. So I'm glad I got to contribute, and it was very interesting spending the hours and hours of figuring out how to make the CV work with my teammates and give them what they needed, and I'm still working at it. But had a lot of fun. So I'm thankful that it happened. I realize it sucks to have the change, but I'm glad that I at least got to experience competitive play.
I thank you for your comment. I would add that we were very lucky that when you were deciding for a new home that you came to us, and I'm glad that we were able, this is the goal for everyone here, that we were able to put you in the place where you can make the biggest difference. And I think we found that place for you, and some people are still trying to find that place, but I'm very grateful that among the many clans, especially when it's a CV season, you could have joined, you decided to come to us. Squirf, you have the floor.
Simpax and all the crew captains, a big round of applause. Let's give it to them, boys.
Golf clap.
Squirf, thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Elementology, you have the floor.
Yeah, Cowboy, you mentioned that part of your success was the hours of theory crafting and talking through roles with your teammates. Is that something that you recorded or you leave open for other people to join? Because I think coming in, maybe getting a perspective of a role that you play in another div might actually help you out.
No, we generally don't record them. Sometimes they get a little heated, and sometimes we're very blunt when we say things in those. So I usually don't record them, and they're also very specific to individual players, individual ships, and how we're using them. Right? It really, everything we've done before, we've tried to just blanket carry it to another crew. Doesn't work at all. Right? Even bringing 3 players from our group to another group and saying this is how we're going to do it, it doesn't work. Right?
I would add, though, Elementology, that I think you can get at what you're looking for by, as I mentioned earlier, having one person in your crew hit that OBS record button, uploading or even just sharing a replay and grabbing another captain or one of the executive officers saying, hey, will you watch this for me, with me, and give some feedback. I think that's probably, and I know that from my crew because I've sat down and reviewed with Storm, with Cowboy, with some of the other more, really experienced callers, and gotten good feedback. So I mean, there's maybe another way to get at that. But as you know, all these crew channels, they are open for you to listen in if you ever just want to pop in. And I know that after many seasons, after many evenings of clan battles, there's a gathering and there's review of replays. So hopefully that will try to get you what you're looking for and give you the help you're seeking. Blitz, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Cowboy and Potato, who's not here right now, but they were outstanding captains, and they made this season of clan battles, though it was frustrating at times, they made it as stress-free as possible. We didn't play as many games as a lot of the other crews, and I think that was to our benefit. It helped with the burnout towards the end of the season. I don't think many of us were super burnt out. At least I was not this season, like last season. And I think it really helped with our team morale as well by limiting our games and just getting positive point gains every night just helped in the end. I mean, you don't have to play as many games when you're playing with Cowboy because net point gain is the key there. So, I mean, if you get 60 points a night, call it there, take your points and go home. So it was really nice at the end of the season to not be super burnt out and we could have some fun at the last game. So thank you to Cowboy and Potato for doing that.
Okay, very good. Wombat, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak a bit to the preparation aspect. I think I played in 10 games since this whole season, but probably participated in unwatched. I mean, I watched probably 16 hours a week of them playing, and then participated in all of the after sessions. So when we actually did need somebody to fill a hole, it wasn't unfamiliar, and I knew exactly where I was supposed to be and what I was expected to be doing, the logic for that was, and so on and so forth. So I think the real value of the crew system is the consistency and the really getting familiar with each other's intent, and sort of, I think a lot of it is less about the design than it is about practicing and getting comfortable with the cooperative execution. So I just want to thank all of the guys on the Saints crew, Cowboy, Potato in particular, but everybody for being low key and as blunt and honest as was necessary at a given moment.
Very good. Well said. Ranger Chris. Ranger Chris, you are muted.
Of course I was. You'd say thanks to Sir and Rogue, we missed you.
Very good. Okay. I have cleared the queue of people who want to speak, so I'm going to ask again if anybody this is your chance to say your piece in front of the entire clan until maybe the next all hands. Who knows when that will be. All right. With that I'm going to close the floor for the good of the order. No one has anything else. Going once. Going twice.
I do have one.
Shoot, Scorf.
God is good. God is great. God bless TNG.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate your expressing your appreciation in your the language that's important to you. With that, I will close the floor. I will close the recording. This will be posted. I would like now to see the executive officers and the captains in the secure room downstairs. Thank you, gentlemen, on another fantastic season.